Every high achiever faces setbacks, but what sets successful people apart is how they turn those setbacks and those painful moments sometimes into their greatest comebacks. So today I'm going to share the exact formula high achievers swear by to transform challenges into success. If you have ever felt like a failure or mistakes define you, this video will completely change how you use setbacks and give you the tools to thrive because of them. Hi, I'm Vassia psychologist and founder of Anti-Loneliness. On this channel, we help high achievers like you overcome perfectionism, procrastination, burnout, overwhelming stress, so you can thrive professionally and personally. If that sounds like you, make sure to hit subscribe so that you can get our weekly insights and strategies. In today's video, we are talking about setbacks, the moment we all dread. I'm sure you felt it. I've been there a million times. These are the moments we all dread, but we cannot avoid them. And they actually can be our greatest teachers. It's uncomfortable. I know. I totally validate that. But we can turn this discomfort to a great teaching moment. So I will show you how to reframe failure, leverage setbacks for growth, and use a formula that top achievers rely on to bounce back stronger. So the question is not whether we will have failures or not. That's out of the question. That's out of our control. We will have. The question is how I can turn that and make it into a great learning point, how I can use it in order to go faster to this successful moment that I have been longing for. Why setbacks, first of all, feel so hard for high achievers? It's really triggering, eh? So setbacks really trigger perfectionism, our perfectionism. For high achievers, setbacks aren't just challenges. They feel like proof that we are not good enough. It's like a slap in the face. It's a confrontation that we feel that we are ashamed, embarrassed, we don't deserve success, and we will never deserve success. And this mindset often keeps us stuck in fear, avoiding risks altogether, which is the opposite of being a high achiever. So, one of my clients, an incredibly talented entrepreneur, a photographer, she delayed launching her own business for a year because she couldn't get to feel that she is good enough. She is perfect, actually, not only good enough, but perfect. So when she finally released it and she finally put that out in the open and published her business, then she realized that the market had shifted already, and what she was selling, it was not that much of a high demand anymore, and she felt devastated because of that competition. So psychologically, when something like that happens, the disappointment that we feel, that setback, trigger the fight or flight response, which makes us see challenges as threats rather than opportunities. You're not wrong if you feel unsafe, stressed, overwhelmed in the face of a disappointment or a setback. You're very normal. Eh? It's very normal that to happen. So that's the fight or flight response that makes us see challenges as threats. And this is why perfectionists, which is usually what high achievers are, we often procrastinate. It feels safer to avoid action rather than to risk failure. So, my question for you is, have you ever delayed? Do you remember having delayed a decision or a project because you were afraid of failing? And what were the opportunities that you missed because of it? Write it down. That's a useful journaling prompt. Let's talk about the psychology of setbacks. What happens to our brain is that the brain's emotional center, the amygdala, goes into overdrive, making us feel threatened. That's why you feel threatened and overwhelmed and really paralyzed. But here's the key: high achievers who bounce back do not stop there. Even though they would feel the initial wave of the amygdala and the fear, they engage again back with their prefrontal cortex, which is the logical part of the brain, in order to process what happened and extract valuable lessons. It's not that they don't feel fear, they feel fear, but they don't get stuck there. They move on and they see that threatening event in a logical way. They put it on the table and they compartmentalize it and they try to find the lessons and process what happened. So let's start with the formula. Let's talk about this formula that high achievers use in order to turn setbacks into success. It's simple, but really powerful. And it all starts with reframing how you see failure. Reframing is a powerful cognitive exercise. We call it also cognitive restructuring, and it helps you to see things from a different perspective. So, how can we reframe the setback? Instead of seeing failure as the end of something, view it as data. It's just data. You just got a report with data back that says this works, this doesn't work. So ask yourself, what is it that I can learn from this data? What does it tell me? It tells me that this marketing approach didn't work, but these words, this text work. Or this approach was not really clear. I have to make it clearer. So take this as data, process it, and see what is the lesson that you can learn. Ben Hardy calls that strategic reframing. It is strategic because you take an event and you are using it in order to plan better your next step. So this is where you turn your setback into stepping stones in order to approach, to go closer to your future self. The second step, detach your self-worth from the setback. Your self-worth, especially as a perfectionist, is tied to your achievement. Am I successful? I'm worthy. Am I not successful? I'm not worthy. So we're changing that. We're detaching your self-worth from your achievements. Your self-worth is a concrete construction that doesn't change, or we don't want it to change rapidly or extremely after these events. We want a more stabilized sense of self-worth. So your self-worth is not your achievements, is not tied to your achievements or your mistakes. You can make mistakes and you can still be worthy. High achievers know how to separate their identity from their outcomes. And this allows them to focus on effort, on growth, rather than perfection. I want to share with you a journal prompt that you can use and you can reflect. Write about a recent setback and reflect on what it says about the situation, not about you as a person, but what it says about the situation. How can you see the event as feedback rather than failure? The third step out of the four that I want to share with you in this formula is focus on your future self. We have talked about this in the previous video, but now we're going to continue that. So your setbacks do not define you, as we said before. Your next steps do. So have this image of your future self and ask yourself, what would my future self do in this situation that I'm right now? What would my future self, a person who's aligned with their values, what would that future self do right now in this situation? How would they handle this setback? So, this simple shift keeps you focused on possibilities instead of regrets, takes you from seeing what happens now as a reality that has happened before and it will happen in the future, and see it as something that can change. Just because in the past I deal with that in a different way, it doesn't matter because my future self can handle that in a different way. And this is where I'm looking now. I'm using this model now and I'm working towards that. And the fourth step of this formula is celebrate resilience, not perfection. So every time you recover from a setback, not only when you succeed, but also when you recover from a setback, you build resilience. And that's a moment that is worthy of celebration. Success is not about failing, it's about never giving up. So also think about Thomas Edison, who famously said, I have not failed, not even once. I have found 10,000 ways that don't work. That's resilience. So celebrate these moments as well. I got out of this in one piece. I got out of this and I learned something. I got out of this and I'm going to use it for my next step. That's resilience, and please celebrate that. There are some common myths about failure and setback. And one of them is, I should have seen it coming. When we say to ourselves that that's a failure, that I could have prevented it. However, we need to highlight that bias makes you feel like you should have prevented and predicted failure, but even the most successful people encounter unexpected challenges. Some of that is completely outside of our sight. It's not even on our blind spot. So instead of blaming yourself, focus on how you can prepare better next time. Remember also that this is something that we all share in our human nature. We cannot foresee everything. We cannot predict failure. We have to go through that. It's a common experience. It's common humanity. And the second myth is that success means no failures. That's a huge myth. That's not going to happen. Many high achievers believe that failure disqualifies them from success, but the truth is that failure is part of success, is part of the process. And yeah, think of entrepreneurs like Oprah or Brene Brown or whoever is your hero entrepreneur. They have definitely faced setbacks, many, yet they have used them as fuel for their growth. So, if perfectionism or fear of failure has been holding you back, my 4-month program, Stop Perfectionism and Start Growing, is designed for you. It's a program that we tackle the fear of failure head on, and we teach you how to reframe setbacks and give you the tools in order to take some bold action. Don't get stuck in indecisiveness. Don't waste your valuable time in order to connect with your clients, help them, and serve them in a better way. So the link to the waiting list for the program is in the description below. So here's what I want you to do. Just a last piece of action that we can take. Take 5 minutes today in order to write down about a recent setback and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this move me closer to my goals or to my next step? Then write down one small action that your future self would take next. Your future self would do this now. And let me know in the comment what's one lesson that you have learned from a recent setback, and I would love to hear your story. Remember, setbacks are not the end. They are just the beginning of your comeback. Every failure is an opportunity to grow, learn, grow more resilient, and move closer to the person you want to become. So if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to check out also my 4-month transformational program for high achievers like you. Your future self will thank you. See you in the next video. Until then, take good care of yourself.